The air was electrified, and as the spirit took hold, I also began to dance. We danced for what seemed like hours, twirling and twirling. The green of the grass and the blue of the ocean began meshing together. The beat of the drums, the drum, pounding to the beat of our hearts. I finally stopped to rest, but Sister Jerry continued. She danced until she fell out in exhaustion across the gravesite. She had done what she promised to do. She had brought him home and performed the rites in celebration of his passing. She left the following morning, promising to keep in touch. We never saw or heard from her again. As fate would have it, several years later, while I was in New York, I had the occasion to meet Sister Halima, Brother Leo's wife, Brother Leo's queen, and their little princess, Onika, who is now 5 years old. We met at a United African Movement meeting in Harlem. In July 2000, Sister Halima traveled to Ghana to visit the site where her beloved Kingman was resting. All roads lead to one Africa. There is never a dull moment around our place, and this morning was no different. I had just finished cleaning up the breakfast dishes when there was a knock at the door and the voices of children. Several of the children from our village were outside, and they were very excited. "A visitor has come! A visitor has come!" they shouted, jumping around excitedly. "Oh, Bruni! Oh, Bruni! A white man is looking for one Africa." "Calm down and stop all the noise," I shouted from inside the house. "I will come small, in a short time." Oh, crap, I thought. Here we go again, all the way to Africa, and I can't seem to get away from white folks. Damn! When I walked through the door, my mouth flew open as I stared at this big white man with a receding hairline, dressed in a short sackcloth dress and wearing gladiator sandals, with heavy metal chains around his neck and wrists connected to the chains, and a black teardrop in the corner of his eye. In attendance, there were two weepy-looking white girls. They were not in chains. They were his traveling companions. One of them had paid for their trip. At first, I couldn't speak. I was dumbfounded. After recovering from my initial shock, and I was able to speak once again, I asked, "Is this some kind of joke? And what do you want here?" I didn't even remember his name or if he had even given me one. But he said someone had referred him to one Africa from the Cape Coast Castle dungeons. He stated that he had seen Jesus in a vision, and Jesus told him to come to Africa and apologize to Africans for what his ancestors did to us during the transatlantic European slave trade. What? I nearly choked. Okay, it's too early for this. Are you on something? Is this some kind of game? First thing in the morning, I asked all at once. But what the hell do you really want anyway? He was slowly beginning to tick me off. "I think you better leave," I said. "Oh, I'm so sorry to startle you," he said, "but I'm looking for one Africa. The man at the Cape Coast Castle said I could find him here." The people at the castle were always sending people to us. They usually weren't white folks, though. "Well, I'm Mrs. One Africa, and he's not home. Again, what do you want?" "My name is Lawrence, and I've come from Boston, Massachusetts in the United States. I have come with a message for the people of Ghana. Jesus came to me in a vision and told me that I must go to Africa and apologize to Africans for what my people did to your people as a result of the mid-Atlantic slave trade. I was supposed to participate in Panifest," he continued. "I was invited, but no one contacted me to tell me that it had been canceled. I was also to appear on Ghana TV. So much for his vision from Jesus. It sounded like some kind of made-for-TV put-on. Really? Where did you say you were from again, I asked. He responded, Boston, Massachusetts, and in a rather proud and cocky manner, I am of French ancestry. You're kidding me, I retorted. You mean to say that you came all the way from Boston to Africa to start apologizing to black folks? If you think apologizing is necessary, you should have started in Boston, one of the most racist cities in America, not come all the way to Africa. Besides, my man, you're in the wrong country. The French did not occupy Ghana. My tolerance level had reached its peak, and the man was beginning to get on my last nerve with his two female companions, amening everything he was saying. Oh, I've gone to other African countries too, he said proudly, and met with heads of states and other officials as I have been directed by Jesus. I have photographs and newspaper clippings from my visits, he continued. Sure enough, there he was in many photographs taken in other African countries, being welcomed as he apologized for the sins of his ancestors. Give me strength, I thought to myself. Right, I said in an exasperated tone. I had finally reached my level of tolerance with this charade. Yeah, I think you'd better talk to Nana after all. I'm not down with this, nor do I have time. If you want to hang out on the beach until he comes, suit yourself. But I have other things to do right now. He smiled and thanked me before clanking off to the beach with his two ladies in waiting following behind him. I stood there shaking my head as they walked away. I had seen it all. Margot and Mama D were also around, and they were as surprised as I, and all agreed that white people do some crazy shit. Lord, give me strength. Where were these people coming from? And why do they always manage to show up on our doorstep? Did I do something wrong, Creator? Did we do something wrong? This had to be another test in the process of returning home. Was this yet another test from the universe, from the ancestors and the Creator? I wonder if I'm passing. Was it my karma that I seemed to be attracting white folks? Nana finally came home, and being a lot more tolerant than his wife, entertained our visitors as they explained or tried to explain the purpose of their journey. Trying to be helpful, Nana escorted them back to the castle, but while they ran into Trying to be helpful, Nana escorted them back to the castle, but while there they ran into a confrontation between the guy in the chains and some of our brothers from America who wanted to throw him into the ocean and felt that he was making a mockery of our Holocaust. Another group of Frenchmen were also in the castle on a tour, and they also wanted to beat him. When he tried to explain to them his mission, they were damn mad, and they said that they didn't feel like their people owed anyone an apology, and who did he think he was? For he was not speaking for them. You're a madman. Go back to America, they shouted. Well, that got my vote on that score. Things really got very harried for a while before Nana left the castle with the white boy and his ladies in tow. I'd had enough of this charade for the day and returned home to what is normally the peace and quiet of One Africa House. However, when Nana came home, we got into a big argument, and that night was the first time in all the years that he and I had been together that we had a physical confrontation. In fact, tempers flew so high that we had to be separated, all over crazy white folks and their foolishness. All roads lead to One Africa. Another time, my sister and friend, Dr. Beryl Dorset, a retired educator and administrator, was visiting Ghana. In fact, it was one of her many trips to the motherland, where she had been installed as the Akusahima Development Queen Mother of Atwima Apathrapa, a village in the Ashanti region, and stool named Nanaama Sewa Nyarko. The Dorset Memorial School in the Ashanti region of Asoyeboa is the first primary school in an Ashanti suburb of Kumasi and was named in her honor. She and her associates are also in the process of having another school built. This is one hard-working and dedicated sister, and when you travel with her to Ghana, you are expected to donate some of your time, energy, and expertise in working on one of the many projects that she has going on in her village. To date, through the efforts of her and her associates, both in America and those that she brought to Africa, the village now has a health clinic that is equipped with dental and other medical supplies valued at over $50,000 and also serves people from neighboring communities. They have developed a small farming project, provided potable water, built 3 ovens, and trained the women in bread baking and leadership development. She has also organized a sponsorship program for the children in the village and in the school, and has provided computers for the Dorset Memorial School. She also brings medical people to service her village. Nanaama is practicing practical Pan-Africanism in every sense of the word, and is supportive of the efforts of those of us who have repatriated. Whenever she comes home, she makes it a point to take her people through the door of no return ceremony and visit our home with her group for lunch or just to stop in. On one such visit, she brought the wife and the daughter of Brother Darrell Felix Edwards, who had joined the ancestors. Ed, as he had been affectionately known, had been a community activist and felt that it was his mission in life to make lost and misguided brothers and sisters aware of their ancestral heritage. After his retirement, he continued in his efforts to bring the message to his people. He believed in a higher power and the brotherhood of mankind. It was the express wish of Brother Ed to be cremated and his ashes scattered on the coast of Africa, and the family came prepared to carry out his last wishes. The problem, though, was that they had no boat and had considered standing on the beach and doing it, but the strong winds off the Gulf of Guinea made that impossible to do. Mama IMAHKÜS, as Dr. Dorset calls me, we need your help. I figured if anyone know how to do this, you and Nana Kofu were the ones who could give us some guidance in this matter. The family doesn't have a lot of money, so we need to keep it simple but nice, and it has to be done immediately, as we are only here until tomorrow. Well, we need to get a boat to carry the remains out to sea, but unfortunately our boat is out of service, I told her. But Nana will check things out and get back to you. As we didn't have much time, Nana immediately went to see the chief fisherman in Elmina, who pulled together his crew. We had to provide them with T-shirts and apateshi, a local strong drink made from sugar cane for the crew, and petrol for the boat. We also made arrangements for a traditional priest and drummers. Early the following morning, everyone who was attending the memorial service met on the beach behind the Elmina Castle dungeons. The remains of Brother Ed were given to the crew captain. The crew looked so nice in their bright gold T-shirts as they rowed out to sea in a precise rhythm, the sound of drums softly echoing in the background, the sun slowly rising on the horizon as Brother Ed's remains were being taken to sea. A simple ceremony was conducted on the shore. As the signal was given from the shore, Brother Ed's wishes were carried out by his wife Ismay and his daughter Denise, as his ashes were sprinkled on the water off the shores of the Gulf of Guinea. Later that morning, Dr. Dorset, Nana Ama, and her group departed for Kumasi. Once again, all roads lead to one Africa. We often get student groups and other community groups staying at our place. They come to get involved in community services and to complete their rites of passage. One year, we had a group leadership excellence, excuse me. One year, we had a group leadership excellence from Oakland, California, led by Sean and Nebra Ginwright. We had been in touch for months prior to their arrival, and the entire group was excited about making their first journey home to Africa. But unfortunately, tragedy fell upon the group, and one of their 16-year-old youngsters died suddenly of a massive heart attack while playing basketball 3 months before the trip. It was a sad day for the group arriving without him, but they paid tribute to him by having T-shirts, which they wore while in the land, tie-dyed green and orange with the map of Africa and the following inscription: Camp Afrique 99. This camp is dedicated to the loving memory of Stephen Avila Webster, transitioned 21st April 1999. Before the group left One Africa, an almond tree was also planted on the ocean front in his memory. It is still there and growing. Since we have been speaking about folks who traveled, as they call it when someone dies in Ghana, I'd briefly like to talk about how funerals are handled here. All roads lead to one Africa. Another time, we had a visit from a brother from Los Angeles, and he was on fire. He was home in Mother Africa, something he had wanted to do for a very long time. He had brought his 2 pit bull dogs and was staying in a small room in town. When I asked him what his plans were, he didn't have any, didn't know what he was going to do, had very short money, and dreams of arriving in paradise. We were happy for him, but more than a little concerned, which we expressed. Brother, you need to have a plan, unless this is a vacation, we told him. Hey, don't worry about me, I'll be fine, and I'll check in from time to time, he said. Well, brother, just remember that our doors are always open, we assured him. 3 months later, we received this note from him. It was my intention to contact you long before this late date, but everything just moved so fast. I got sick, sold my pit bull dogs, got a loan, and decided to go back to the States. I must now rethink my next exodus. I must seek a new exodus location. I love Africa and always will, but my diet must be first worked on before coming back. You folks have the best program, and I believe God is truly with you. And what can we say to that except prepare yourself financially, spiritually, and physically. Do your research. Talk with folks who have done it, and then jump into the pool. Keeping in mind that preparation and unity is a key to our collective success in the repatriation process. All roads lead to one Africa. Sister Zakia and Baba Andy Anderson from Harlem, New York, came to Ghana, and on the advice of Professor Leonard Jeffries, visited us at our home with her small group of youngsters. The children were delighted. They slept outside in hammocks, climbed coconut trees, and beat drums until the wee hours of the morning. This was the first time in their young lives that they felt safe after dark and did not fear being shot, robbed, or molested. and did not fear for lions and tigers. After several visits, Sister Zakia was made a chief in the village of Asinkrua in the central region. She is now called Nana Ata Inkum I. Just before her installment, she and the Queen Mother from her village grafted an almond tree in our yard. It was supposed to grow a certain kind of fruit, but no fruit other than the almonds ever appeared, but the tree split and formed 2 limbs instead of 1. As I watched it growing over the years, it brought to mind the reconnection of 2 sisters coming together after a long separation, and it still stands tall today. Nana Ata has also adopted Nana Akofu and I as her parents. All roads lead to one Africa. The group was coming to participate in the Pan-African Historical Theater Festival, PANAFest, a biannual, broad-based cultural event in which artists from numerous fields of endeavor, music, art, theater, dance, etc., as well as scholars dedicated to the enhancement of the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the development of the African continent, come together. There are about 25 people in the group that Imhotep brought, quite a few of them old Garveyites, and for many, their first trip to the continent. After arriving in Accra, the group traveled to Fort Amsterdam. Fort Amsterdam is an old slave fort built by the Dutch in 1631 for the sole purpose of housing kidnapped Africans. It sits on top of a hill overlooking the Gulf of Guinea in the village of Abanzi. After a very emotional visit to the fort, the group moved to the bottom of the hill, where a Durbar, an assembling of local chiefs, elders, and townspeople, were drumming and dancing in anticipation and celebration of a special event. They were in the process of installing Imhotep as an development chief. There was an air of excitement and restless anticipation in the group. Nana and I arrived shortly after the group had been seated. After greeting everyone, we were shown to our seats to enjoy the festivities. The sound of drums vibrated and pulsated the air as traditional dancers, evoking the spirit of ancestors, welcomed the group home. A sister sitting near started to moan and shake and make strange sounds. As her eyes rolled back in her head, she slid gracefully from her seat onto the green grass. Everyone was stunned as we silently watched her. As though awakened from a deep sleep, we moved all at once to assist her. Some of the women from the village church, dressed in their white, who were in attendance at the function, rushed over and began fanning her. One woman was hitting her slightly on the forehead as they all chanted, "Jesus, Jesus," while gently shaking her. "Jesus, Jesus," they continued as she began to come around. But just after they said she would be all right, the sound of 2 different voices started coming out of her mouth. "Jesus, oh Jesus," they excitedly began chanting again and looking from one person to the other. "What is this?" they inquired. "I don't know this," said another sister. Just like she started, the sister stopped shaking and opened her eyes, looking around at all of us with a very confused look on her face. "Is she all right?" Group members inquired, very concerned. "Do we need to take her to the hospital?" someone asked. But that was not necessary, for she appeared to be getting it together. "You had us a little concerned," I said, kneeling on the ground beside her. "I don't know what happened. One moment I was fine, and then suddenly a very strange sensation came over my body. I don't remember anything else until this very moment. But I feel now fine," she stated. No one had any answers regarding her behavior, other than the fact that this was a very emotional time, returning to the land of your ancestry. Assured that she was okay, the program continued. After the Durbar, the group continued on to Cape Coast, where they checked into their hotel. That evening after dinner, the group went to the Cape Coast Castle dungeons, where the evening panifest was going on. At the close of the program, Nana and I were going to take the group through the door of no return commemorative ceremony. Unfortunately, we were well behind schedule because although the panifest performances were finished, there were still a lot of people in the castle dungeons, and the mood of the folks inside was party, party, party. There was also a drinking bar in the old English church overlooking the castle courtyard at that time, and although it was time for the castle to close, people were just not leaving. Sister Lena, who had fallen out earlier in the day at Fort Amsterdam, was sitting in one of the chairs rocking back and forth, not saying a word to anyone, just looking kind of dazed. When asked how she was, she just kept a blank expression and kept rocking. We called the group leader, who was very concerned with her behavior. As it was getting very late, the group leader suggested postponing the ceremony until the following day and conducting it at Elmina Castle instead. Besides, Lena really looked like she needed to go back to the hotel. As we started getting the group together to leave the castle, she began speaking normally as we made our exit, but looking as if she didn't quite know where she was. She just smiled and said that she was feeling a little tired. Her roommate was close by supporting her, ensuring everyone that Lena was fine. "She'll be all right tomorrow, Sister IMAHKÜS. It's just been a long, hot, and emotionally draining day," her roommate said. "That's cool. Just let us know if you need any help, my sister," I said. With that, the group boarded their bus to return to their hotel, and Nana and I went home, exhausted. We would meet the group at the Elmina Castle dungeons at 9 a.m. the following morning. I left home about 8 o'clock the following morning to get things ready at the castle dungeons. Entering the women's dungeon, I began lighting the 7 candles that I had bought for the ceremony. As I was lighting the last candle, I began to feel chills running up and down my spine, and as much as I wanted to move, I seemed to be stuck in that spot. I could hear people moving around and talking, although I couldn't see anyone. As the voices got closer, I heard blood-curdling screams coming from deep inside the underground dungeon exit leading to the door of no return. Suddenly released from whatever had been gripping me, I made my way to the outer courtyard. I stood in a corner as though in a dream and watched Nana, Imhotep, and other members of the group moving swiftly through the various rooms in the castle. It was like watching a video being played in fast forward. The screams that had stopped abruptly started up again. Screams that vibrated your entire being. The screams had been coming from Sister Lena, who was now being carried from the inner dungeon by members of the group. As they took her to the forecourt at the front entrance of the Elmina Castle dungeons, she continued to scream and moan, rolling her head from side to side. It was suggested that someone go for a traditional priest or priestess. Nana Kofu and Nana GP immediately took off and found a traditional priest in Elmina and apprised him of the emergency. But after arriving at the Elmina Castle and evaluating Sister Lena's condition, he recommended that they go and get his wife, who was a priestess. He felt she would better be able to handle this situation.